Shadow of the Crown, inside Princess Beatrice's fortified sanctuary. In the serene and rolling hills of the English countryside, a landscape typically known for its honey-colored stone cottages and tranquil pace of life, a quiet but dramatic transformation is taking place. A royal barricade has gone up in the Cotswolds, turning a private family home into something resembling a fortress. Princess Beatrice, the eldest daughter of the Duke and Duchess of York, has reportedly initiated a sweeping security overhaul at the estate she shares with her husband, Edoardo Mozzi, and their children. However, this fortification is not designed to repel common criminals, opportunistic thieves, or the standard threats that wealthy public figures face. Instead, these high-tech battlements are being constructed to shield her family from a far more insidious threat, the toxic, relentless shadow cast by her own father, Prince Andrew. The narrative emerging from the Cotswolds is one of a princess under siege, not by physical enemies, but by the intangible yet destructive fallout of royal scandal. Beatrice, who has spent her adult life attempting to carve out a career and identity separate from the institution's core, now finds herself forced to retreat behind a perimeter of steel and surveillance. Reports indicate that the princess has implemented stringent, almost militaristic access controls at her residence. This includes the installation of advanced sensor systems, the potential use of counter-drone technology, and the establishment of unwavering, round-the-clock monitoring by specialized security personnel. The objective of this security surge is singular and desperate, to enforce absolute privacy and regulate every interaction with the outside world. The measures are described as a shift from reactive defense to proactive deterrence, a level of protection usually reserved for senior, frontline working royals, a status Beatrice does not hold. The sheer cost and complexity of these upgrades underscore the gravity of the threat she perceives. It is an existential defense of her family's peace, a necessary trade-off between the freedom of an open life and the safety of a closed compound. To understand the urgency behind these measures, one must look beyond the gates of the Cotswolds estate to the broader crisis engulfing the York family. The primary catalyst for this sudden escalation appears to be the precarious situation surrounding Royal Lodge, the sprawling Windsor residence currently occupied by Prince Andrew and his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson. For months, reports have circulated regarding King Charles III's desire to evict his brother from the 30-room mansion, which sits on 98 acres of prime parkland. In the king's vision of a slimmed-down, cost-efficient monarchy, the continued occupation of such a grand estate by a non-working royal, one who has brought immense disrepute to the crown, has become untenable. The pressure on Andrew and Sarah to vacate Royal Lodge is immense. Should they be forced to leave, reports suggest that Sarah Ferguson, affectionately known as Fergie, may relocate to live with Beatrice in the Cotswolds. This potential move is the strategic pivot point for Beatrice's security concerns. While Sarah is a loving mother and grandmother, her presence acts as a lightning rod for media attention. Throughout her life, the Duchess of York has attracted intense press scrutiny, ranging from financial controversies to tabloid scandals. If she were to pack up and move to the Cotswolds, the media circus would inevitably follow, descending upon the quiet countryside to document the fall of the Yorks and the subsequent upheaval. Beatrice is acutely aware of this reality. She is preparing to absorb her mother into a protective cocoon, but she knows that doing so requires a hardened shell. The prospect of her mother moving in transforms the estate from a private family home into a high-value target for paparazzi, investigative journalists, and the relentless public gaze. By fortifying the property now, Beatrice is attempting to draw a hard line in the sand, declaring that the chaos surrounding her parents will not be allowed to breach the sanctuary of her own children's lives. This situation highlights the profound and unfair burden placed upon the younger generation of the House of York. Princess Beatrice and her sister, Princess Eugenie, are private citizens who happen to be the grandchildren of the late Queen. They have no official role within the working monarchy, receive no sovereign grant, and have worked to build independent professional lives. Yet, they remain inextricably tethered to the vortex of scandal created by their father. Prince Andrew's association with the late, disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein has inflicted a wound on the royal family that refuses to heal. Despite being stripped of his military titles and his Her Royal Highness style, and despite effectively being banished from public life, the media's fascination with Andrew, his finances, his past, and his lifestyle, remains fervent. Every time a court document is unsealed, a new book is published, or a fresh allegation surfaces regarding the Epstein case, the pressure on Beatrice and Eugenie intensifies. They are the collateral damage of their father's past. Beatrice's decision to turn her home into a high-security compound is a physical manifestation of this psychological burden. She is living with the knowledge that her family's hard-won peace is fragile, constantly at risk of being shattered by headlines generated thousands of miles away. The security perimeter is not just about keeping people out, it is about keeping the toxicity of the past from infecting the present. The implications of this move extend to Beatrice's husband, Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi. An Italian real estate magnate and successful businessman, Edoardo married into the royal family with an understanding of the public interest it generates. However, the current situation represents a significant escalation. He is not merely the husband of a princess, he is now the head of a household under siege, managing a security operation necessitated by his in-laws' global scandals. The psychological toll of living in a home where every delivery must be vetted, every visitor logged, and every perimeter alert investigated is substantial. It is a friction between his professional need for visibility and networking, and his family's desperate need for invisibility. Furthermore, the financial aspect of this security upgrade cannot be overlooked. As non-working royals, Beatrice and Edoardo are responsible for their own security costs. The installation of military-grade defenses and the employment of 24-hour guard teams represent a massive financial commitment. This is an unspoken tax levied on the lesser-known royals, who must pay out of pocket to mitigate the risks created by the monarchy's most senior figures. The potential arrival of Sarah Ferguson would only compound these logistical and financial complexities, requiring even tighter protocols to ensure her safety and privacy during a period of immense personal vulnerability. The fortification of the Cotswolds estate also serves as a silent commentary on the current state of the British monarchy. Under King Charles, the institution is transitioning, and the roles of the peripheral royals are being redefined. Beatrice's withdrawal behind high walls reinforces the idea that the non-working members of the family are destined for a life cloaked in secrecy, accessible only to a highly curated inner circle. Unlike other non-working royals who might leverage their status for public causes with high visibility, Beatrice is choosing safety over the spotlight. It is a pragmatic, perhaps necessary, trade-off, but one that further isolates her from the public she was born into. The narrative of the Cotswolds fortress is ultimately a tragedy of inheritance. Beatrice is fighting for a normalcy that her birthright and her father's actions have made nearly impossible to achieve without extreme measures. The idyllic dream of a quiet country life has been compromised by the reality of modern surveillance and the enduring stain of scandal. By installing cameras, sensors, and guards, Beatrice is not just protecting her physical property, she is attempting to reclaim agency in a life where external forces, the media, the court of public opinion, and the actions of her parents, often feel uncontrollable. This defensive posture is a declaration of independence. It signals that while she cannot change her lineage or erase her father's history, she can and will control who has access to her world. She is drawing a perimeter around the things that matter most: her marriage, her children, and her mental peace. The irony is palpable, the very measures taken to ensure a normal life are themselves deeply abnormal, requiring a level of vigilance that most people will never experience. As the situation regarding Royal Lodge continues to evolve, the eyes of royal watchers remain fixed on the Cotswolds. The potential relocation of the Duchess of York would be a logistical nightmare and a public relations firestorm, likely testing the limits of Beatrice's newly fortified sanctuary. But for now, the message from the Cotswolds is clear. The gates are closed, the cameras are watching, and the princess is prepared to do whatever it takes to ensure that the sins of the father do not destroy the future of the grandchildren. In a world where the royal family is often viewed through the lens of duty and tradition, Beatrice's story is one of survival and adaptation. It is a modern royal drama played out not on the balconies of Buckingham Palace, but behind the hedgerows of rural England, where a young mother is building a wall to keep the past at bay. The security upgrade is more than just infrastructure, it is a physical barrier against a legacy of chaos, a heavy crown of responsibility worn by a princess determined to break the cycle and provide a safe haven for those she loves.